Ancient Rome, Chapter 16, East and West. The big question: why did the Western Empire collapse, but the Eastern Empire survive for much longer? Luciano's last assignment. Luciano glanced ahead in his books. He knew the story of the Roman Empire was nearly over. He felt a little sad because this story was special to him. While studying the Roman Empire, Luciano discovered he liked taking part in class. For his next assignment, the teacher told him to read about Emperor Constantine and the city of Constantinople. Luciano was curious. He hurried home to begin his studies. Constantine takes control. The next day, the teacher told the class about Constantine. After Diocletian retired, the Roman Empire fell into civil war. In time, a strong leader took control of the empire. His name was Constantine. This mosaic shows Constantine holding a model of Constantinople. A key victory in Constantine's rise to power came in 312 CE at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. Constantine defeated one of his rivals. Constantine was not yet a Christian, but he claimed the Christian God helped him win the battle. In 313 CE, Constantine made an agreement with Licinius, who then ruled the eastern part of the empire. The two agreed to let Christians practice their religion. This agreement was called the Edict of Milan. Christians were no longer punished for their beliefs. In fact, Constantine actively supported the Christian religion. He is remembered as the first Christian emperor. Constantine was a strong emperor. He followed Diocletian's example. He named honest people to help him rule. After Constantine ruled the Roman Empire for a while, he moved the government away from Rome. The teacher turned to Luciano. Luciano, where did Constantine move the government? Constantinople. Luciano was prepared. In 324 CE, Constantine began moving the government of the Roman Empire to Byzantium. Byzantium was an old city in the eastern part of the empire. It had a big racetrack like Rome's Circus Maximus. Constantine thought that Byzantium should have a new name. He named the city Constantinople after himself. You won't find Constantinople on maps today, Luciano continued. The city's name has changed. Today it's called Istanbul, and it's in the country of Turkey. Thank you, Luciano, said the teacher. You did well. The Byzantine Empire. The teacher continued. Constantine ruled from Constantinople for several years. After his death, there were more civil wars. The western part of the Roman Empire eventually broke away from the eastern part. There were now two empires instead of one. Look at this map. This map shows Eastern and Western Roman empires. After the division of the Roman Empire, Constantinople became the capital of the East. Here is Constantinople. It is now called Istanbul in the country of Turkey. The Eastern Empire included Constantinople. Because the city was once called Byzantium, the empire was called the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire became powerful and lasted for more than 1,000 years. Constantinople became one of the most important cities in the world. It attracted traders and travelers from Asia, Africa, and Europe. Byzantine philosophers talked about important ideas. Artists blended Greek, Roman, and Middle Eastern styles to create beautiful mosaics and other works of art. The Eastern Empire was ruled by a series of emperors. Justinian was one of its most famous emperors. In Constantinople, Justinian built a beautiful Christian church called the Hagia Sophia. The Emperor Justinian had a Christian church called Hagia Sophia built in Constantinople, which is now called Istanbul, and this church is now a mosque in the Islamic faith. Although Justinian ruled the Eastern Empire far from Rome, he knew the Romans had built his empire. The empire was governed by Roman laws. Justinian had these Roman laws written down. This collection of laws was known as the Justinian Code. The Western Empire. The teacher continued. The Western Empire was not as strong as the Eastern Empire. By the time Justinian became emperor in the East, the Western Empire had collapsed. How did this happen? The Western Empire was less wealthy than the Eastern Empire. It was also surrounded by warlike neighbors. Barbarians often attacked the borders of the Western Empire. Over time, these barbarians took over more and more Roman land. The armies of the Western Empire could not stop them. Eventually, the barbarians sacked the city of Rome. The Western Empire kept fighting the barbarians for another 60 years. Finally, in 476 CE, the emperor of the Western Empire surrendered to a barbarian leader. The Western Empire had fallen. This event is called the Fall of Rome. We have reached the end of our exploration of ancient Rome, said the teacher. We should thank Luciano for helping us to know and understand the Romans. Thank you, Luciano. We are proud of you. And this is the end of the chapter and the end of the book.